For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Thank you again for the review, by the way. That's awesome. Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the beginning of our conversation now. Welcome to another episode of the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast.
You nailed it.
That's it. You got it right.
First time in 35 episodes. I don't know. First time I've ever gotten
it. Yeah, you got it right. You got it right.
So, and we just had a great experience with. First of all, I need to say hello to my compadre, my partner in crime, my best friend. And new grandpa, Mr. David Mayo, not Mustard Loomis.
The Dave Loomis.
Who I call him the voice.
The voice, right? Yes.
And those of you that are looking for voiceovers, very expensive voiceovers, but he will do that for you. And
I will.
Included in this conversation right now is a minute ago we had 4 people in this conversation, but right now I would like to introduce to everybody. You've seen her before. You wanted her back.
The one, the only.
My smoking hot wife,
Miller.
Kay Miller, right
Kay's
here.
Back.
Don't
Kay's
have
back.
to spell it for anybody.
And we are. And
she is A-O-K.
Okay. and for those who want to know why we're so jazzed right now, it's because we just had this wonderful conversation, with one of Dave's college buddies, Dermot Mulroney. Did I get that right?
Yes.
I want to make sure I pronounced his name right. Dermot Mulroney.
That's right.
Great guy, really great guy, and enjoyed talking with him. I actually never believed for 1 minute that you knew this guy. You kept talking about it like, oh yeah, I know this. I'm name dropping here. But
yep. Then he shows up in my house,
and he does what they call on Saturday Night Live a sneak in, where he just kind of walks in, and like, oh hello, hi. So we just had a wonderful conversation with him.
By the way, he has great hair.
He does have great hair.
He has great hair.
You think is that his real hair?
Yes. It is. Yeah.
Oh, I know it is. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
That's. People tell me I have great hair. This one,
yeah,
just
that
this
one.
Which
that
one?
The one that I had.
Yeah, or they tell you had great hair. So
correct.
Anyway, but this week, on this episode, we are continuing the discussion of books by the authors on this podcast. And
yes.
And for those of you who don't know, my smoking hot wife Kay is a salesperson extraordinaire. We might touch on her story here just in just a little bit. But of all the episodes that we have recorded so far, her last conversation with us is the number one. It's the highest downloaded, listened to episode of our podcast.
Yeah, well, that's consistent.
Cool.
That's consistent because
You didn't tell me that.
Kay's a winner. Kay's a winner.
Yay! Winner, chicken dinner.
Yay, Kay. Yes, exactly.
Didn't transfer over to marriage, but okay.
I don't know what that means, but
I don't either.
You said she's a winner.
Later.
You're still married.
There you go.
Steve,
Look at that.
you're a winner by association.
Good. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, this is International Tell Your Dog I Said Hi Day. And
I see. He has a hat that says "Tell your dog I say."
it's international. Hi. Tell your dog I said hi, Dave.
I did not know that.
So anyway, so we are going to talk to Kay because 8 days ago, from the date of this recording, 8 days ago, her brand new book. Everybody get their copies. Let's bring them up. Here we go. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
Yeah, for those of you listening, we're all holding up this book.
We're all holding up a copy of Kay's new book, Uncopyable Sales Secrets: How to Create an Unfair Advantage and Outsell Your Competition. Kay Kruger-Miller, welcome to the podcast.
Why, thank you. Even used my real name.
Kaylin Kruger-Miller.
We finally let you get a word in edgewise.
I know. There's, this.
That was a really long intro.
Of salespeople, because you know what? When you're in sales, there's not a lot of listeners. We like to talk.
Oh, except professional speakers.
That's actually going to be one of my questions.
Cool.
Cool.
As we talk about your book.
And it's funny you say that about not a lot of listeners in sales. The professional speakers, the National Speakers Association, every summer they have a couple thousand people go to the convention. And I always say it's 2,000 speakers, no listeners, in that audience. So hey, babe, let's talk about this because your book came out and it is rocketing up. It's on the new bestseller list of Amazon.
Hot new releases.
Hot new releases, exactly right. Last time I checked, it was like number 15 or something like that. And I'm going to point out, for those of you who are marketing aficionados, sales and marketing aficionados, she is ranked ahead of Dan Kennedy's latest book. So
there you have it.
Just think about that for a second.
Now, I know this is about me, this episode, not about you, but
it's
you
100%.
have a book on there too.
No, we're not going to talk about that because I want to make this about you. We're not going to talk about my book, and we're not talking about Dave's book.
No.
Which
we did that last episode.
No, we already
okay.
Talked about that once too.
All right. Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. Last time we talked, you talked about one of the biggest issues of sales, of being a successful salesperson, and you talked about getting over the hurdle of fear.
That's
okay.
Right.
Give me a 30-second thing on that so that we can then step forward and move on to the next types of questions. But that was because it was number one. That I have to believe that was a sore subject with people.
Well, like it or not, sales involves rejection. It involves hearing the word no. It can even be, include being thrown out. And so, yes, it's scary. I think of, all of our moms told us not to talk to strangers. And as salespeople, that's our job. So getting over that fear is something that you can really set you apart and really give you an advantage. If you just have the guts to go and do what you're afraid of, that means, and Dave told a story about even, in skiing. Remember you said that one of your friends said, you told him, I never fall. And he said, well, that's not good. That means you're not trying that hard. So it's like a lot of things in life that you've got to really push yourself to do what's uncomfortable. So we talked about how to do that. So whatever episode that was, go back and listen.
That's right. Go back and listen to that.
Yeah, it was great.
And I know that you've had quite a few interviews, about your new book. And even for me, okay, sweetie, congratulations on being ranked, because, my first book, ultimately it did go well, but it took a while. Okay. So I think that yours kind of came out of the box pretty well. If, what would be the next thing that you would be talking about here? In other words, that's from your book. What would be the next thing that you would want to say to salespeople after the fear, the rejection factor thing? What's the next most important thing do you think that they should know about?
Well, I'd like to focus on the fact that sales is connection. And it really is, you've said for years, people do business with people, we're humans, and having that interaction, that connection is really where it's at. And they're all, there's so many different ways to establish that, but I think there are some really, commonalities. And I have to say at the top of the list, and Dave, you mentioned it already, listening. Listening to me is a discipline because if we're honest, we all are most interested in ourselves. And so to really listen to another person is, it's like the attention economy. I mean, to give someone that respect to just really listen to them will get you a long way. And I reference in the book a Dale Carnegie story. How old is that book? How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I love one of these stories where he's talking with a botanist and he talks about this dinner party and he was there for hours and he just listened to this botanist talk about what he was most excited about, which is botany. And at the end of the evening, the botanist dude told the host, boy, about Dale Carnegie, what a great conversationalist he is. So I think if we can really, get ourselves to listen and we'll go beyond that, I'm sure, but that is huge. That is huge. And I think, honestly, it's one of the biggest mistakes that salespeople make is they just right out of the box start talking.
Oop. We can't hear you, Dave.
Uh-oh. We lost Dave.
No, you didn't. I muted myself because the dog was barking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we don't care.
Life happens, right?
But now, yeah. So I have certainly been guilty of that. Yesterday, in fact, I was in a video conference with a potential client, and it was kind of strange because there were two people there on Zoom, and usually they're in their own sort of offices or boxes or what have you, but they were in the office together, and so one was sort of squeezed in and sitting behind the other, and not really participating too much, just because he couldn't be heard that well. He was taking notes, but we hadn't really heard from him, and I kind of was trying to be self-aware, and I heard myself like kind of doing a lot of talking, and I finally asked him a question, and it ended up turning around the entire meeting because he opened up about something that my partner and I can really help with. And had we not asked that question, we wouldn't have got him to open up. And it just changed everything. It's just so funny, though, because you mentioned the Dale Carnegie. The question that I was going to ask, I have it highlighted right here. And it was in chapter 6, you have a chapter called Develop a Mutually Trusting Relationship, which is great. And you brought up Dale Carnegie versus someone named the Power Wash dude who talked a lot.
What a story
a lot.
That's right.
But that section starts with something that I think is just brilliant and resonates with me so much. 3 bullet points that says, listen with your ears, observe with your eyes, strive to understand. And I think if you I just take that and, boy, if you could remember anything, remember that. What can you just comment on that and how you just boiled it down to something those are simple words strung together, but they mean a lot, don't they?
They are simple. And Steve and I were talking about the book just as a little aside, is that a lot of the things I talk about are basics, but being brilliant at the basics, he said that's Brian Tracy, right, is just huge. And so, it really is about listening to understand. I think that's one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly successful people, is first seek to understand and then be understood. So it just goes along with that philosophy. Again, I think the key to this is that our natural tendency is to, especially when we're excited about our product or service or, what we've got going on, to just talk about it. Now, Dave, I'm very curious. I don't know if you can share. What was the question that you asked that brought out that customer, got them talking?
Well, the person that I was talking to at my client had the role of head of product. And I asked him if he was often involved in sales conversations when they're selling their product, and he said he was. And I said, well, when you're in those meetings, you often send a follow-up email, and I'll bet you put a link to your website, don't you? And he said, yeah. And I said, when you put that link in, how do you feel about when that prospect goes to the website? Do you feel like they're going to see what they want, what you want them to see, and give and deliver the message that you want to deliver? And he's just, as I'm saying those words, he's shaking his head no, and he's saying, no, it really isn't what we want. We want to do this, and this. And my partner and I had a suspicion about that, but of course we want to be respectful. We don't want to jump to conclusions about things. So instead of just giving your opinion about something, why not just ask? And then how will anyone know? How would you know someone's needs if you didn't ask?
Now, I'm going to interject here. That is a great question that you asked.
That is a great question.
That was really, really astute, and I think that really speaks to what Kay is talking about. And Kay and I were talking a little bit earlier about some of her interviews on other podcasts and programs and stuff. And she started describing some of the stuff, and she just did it. She described that in the interview, with other people, she asked them questions, right? And they started sharing as well, and said that a number of the programs, they were talking about how great the interviews were. And I said, well, you didn't have an interview. You had a conversation.
And that's how you should look at the sales process. And what you just shared, a couple things popped into my mind. One is that he probably hadn't thought of it like that. And if you can lead the prospect to think about something in a new way, open their eyes as what you did, is huge. And the second thing I honestly just forgot.
That's okay. Well, I have something that you probably will remember, and that is Gino, the tour guide in Italy.
Right.
Is that his name, Gino?
Yes, Gino.
Oh, you remember
Gino, the tour guide. So this is in your book, in a chapter on Think Like Sherlock Holmes, which is interesting. I've always thought that too, is that we should be really super curious. And really, like, there's a mystery to be solved. Like yesterday, when I asked that person a question,
exactly,
what is the mystery? And can you just tell us about Gino? Because what a difference when you can ask questions to customize an experience for someone.
I love that story, and I had fun telling it with possibly a tiny bit of artistic license, but. My friend and I went on a went on a trip to Italy, and we had gone before, but this time we had our kids who were teenagers. So Kelly and her daughters, Megan and Sophia, and we planned this trip, but we promised the girls that it wouldn't be too heavy on sightseeing. So when we were in Rome, Terry, actually, I'll give her credit. She found a tour guide. She said, let's hire a personal guide so we can get all our sightseeing done in one day and make it interesting for the girls, and we don't have to mess with anything. And it wasn't cheap, and it was totally worth it. It was one of the best decisions we made on that whole trip, because right away, Terry was the point person. She was emailing back and forth with this guy, Gino, and he was asking so many questions about what we wanted the experience to be like. And, just that in itself just did what you did for this client yesterday. It opened our eyes. Oh, we hadn't thought about that. We had read, for example, tourist attractions that, were so recommended, but he said, well, some of these are actually overrated and hard to get to, take too much time. He found out everything about what we wanted, to do. And then when we got there on the day of the tour, it turned out that they had this horrible heat wave. And you read about me pretty much passing out. And Gino, changed and modified what we were doing to just fit everything, that we wanted. If the girls got tired, he knew where the gelato places were. It got hot, so he knew about these hidden cafes. And so a lot of it, besides learning about what we wanted up front, he also really, went with the flow during the process. And I was talking to one of our clients who, Orscheln, they manufacture very complicated equipment for off-road trucks. And he said that story resonated with him because also so many things change during the process, and, things come up, for everything from supply chain to distribution to whatever. And so that's the story, which I tell in the book in a lot more entertaining fashion, but yes.
Well, the bottom line is it wasn't, we do tours. Here's what you get, take it or leave it. It wasn't that.
Right.
And I've been recently I was on a call, and I introduced somebody to one of my clients, to have them do some work, the kind of thing that I don't exactly do. And I was thinking, it was just a basic introduction call for, half hour, 45 minutes. And, and I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect my friend to give basically a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation, speaking the entire time. And at the end, they had to go. And my client just said, he said, do you have any questions? And there were like crickets in the corner. There was nothing. They were speechless because he just completely overwhelmed them with words. Right. He didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to even show any PowerPoint. He could have just asked good questions, like Dale Carnegie.
And I have to jump in here because as much as I want Kay to keep talking, I want to point something out that you just did something, Dave, and Kay, you actually pointed it out, but I just got what you would call, Kay, a gold nugget. All right. Kay has a weekly mastermind of people that get together and they just talk business, they talk marketing, they talk about everything. And what they look for in sharing with each other are gold nuggets that they can take away and just rock and roll with this stuff. Okay. Now, because you just said something that changed my perspective, and the perspective was about leading the customer with questions, right? Now, what I realized based on your question, Dave, to your
prospect.
To your prospect. Yes, thank you. I am over 70, folks, and I just met. Well, never mind. Most of the time, salespeople lead the customer like attorneys sometimes lead the witness. Mm-hmm. And when they're leading the witness improperly, the other side says, "I object, Your Honor." Okay, because most salespeople are leading the prospect to it's like almost like a semantics.
So
like,
all I wanted my friend to do was to ask them, "Oh, what's the situation? What do you need? How can I help?" That's all I wanted him to ask.
And you know what?
You gave me the gold nugget. You gave me was a new way of looking at leading the prospect. And what you did was you led the prospect to a new perspective. And I think that's a killer.
That's a nugget.
That is a gold nugget. That's a takeaway. And I wrote it down immediately down here. Lead the customer, but lead them to a new perspective, not to the answer you're looking for.
And here's another. Here's a plus on that. I'll plus that. I'll plus my own gold. I'll plus my own gold nugget.
Plus, we talk about stuff and then we go. I'm going to plus that. I'm going to plus that.
So So I realize, I'm thinking in my mind, how did I even come up with that question? And it was really through empathy, because I was trying to think, what would it be like to be him and to have to use the sales tools that they have and the marketing tools that they have, and are they sufficient? And so I was just trying to, it literally just came to me, but I was trying to put them first, not me. I might be the perfect solution. I still don't have the business for sure. I might be the perfect solution for them. I might not be. And I told them that up front. I want to help you. I'll help you find the right solution.
I love that. It's simple. It's simple in some ways, and in other ways so complex and complicated, because like you said, you didn't have that pre-planned question. How would you have ever, you don't have a list of, okay, these are the things I can ask. You had to really be, like you said, put yourself in his shoes or their shoes and say, okay, they're doing this. How does that feel? So
I don't think there's anything easy about simple. Maybe that doesn't make total sense to you guys.
It does.
Sure
look at the Macintosh or any of the Apple products that Steve Jobs designed. I mean, he obsessed over the simplicity of them. And he also included, he had to redesign the back of things, that no one would ever see. And his engineers got really ticked. Yeah. This is just the back. What are you doing? He's like, well, it matters. It all matters.
Everything walks the talk.
Yeah. I have one other question, Kay. It's about
we are running out of time, but that's
title of the book.
Let's just keep talking.
One more.
No,
one more
right
question.
Ahead.
Uncopyable sales secrets. Secrets, though. If they're secrets, they're not secrets anymore. What's your thought on the word secret in here? Is it really a secret? Or if you're sharing secrets, what was your motivation behind this? Because this is like stuff it's taken you a lifetime to, you're letting the cat out of the bag. This is the secret sauce.
Right, the secret. I'd tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
See? I knew it.
Well, the thing is, the word secret is appealing. It makes you curious and makes you want to know what it is. And I do talk in the book, I do mention that a secret can be something that you don't know yet or you haven't thought of. It can also be something that you forget. So I say it's a secret, but it's just something you're not doing. And, it's like the reticular activating center. I guess if something can
the RAC.
That's exactly right.
Something can be there all along. And I'm going to have one. I know we got to wrap things up.
No, you're fine, honey. Go ahead.
I remember when our daughter Kelly was a kid. I don't know how old she was, maybe 7 or 8. I don't know. We don't know. And she said, Mom, what's the F word? I keep hearing people talk about the F word and I don't know what it is. And I said, you see the F word all the time. You hear it all the time. She just hadn't picked up on it. And I said, I'll show you. And the next time we went to the golf course, to the driving range, you go through this tunnel and there was graffiti on it and it had the F word all over it. I'm like, it's everywhere. She just hadn't tuned into that. So that might be a horrible example, but I bet you won't forget it. You know what? There are things that we're not tuned into. So we're going to say that that's a secret. And once you know, you know.
Is it kind of like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a Porsche.
Red car.
And because I'm thinking about it, now I see them everywhere. Now I see
the reticular activating center.
Is it? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, in fact, it's a perfect example because, and I've told this in my books in the past, that when I first moved to Seattle, I had a BMW, right? Because I came from California. All right, so I was an idiot, and I came up and I wanted to get a Jeep, and so I did some research, and I thought, oh man, I know what's going to be really really cool. And after the research, I thought I want to get a forest green Jeep Grand Cherokee. That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I want to get because it would be really really cool. And over the next 2 weeks, I couldn't believe how many forest green Jeep Grand Cherokees were on the road. I was just blown away by it. But that's the reticular activating center. It means that your mind moves in the direction of your current dominant thought. That's what it means.
So I think, when I say secrets, there are things out there. There are secrets. Now that you know the secrets in this book, I guarantee, like I've talked to Steve, I said, I guarantee people reading this book, nobody can say, I do all of these things.
That's right.
You said you sometimes don't listen enough. I've heard that from tons of salespeople.
Excuse me.
I tell myself.
What was that? I'm sorry. I didn't get that last part.
All right. This is not an audition for an improv group, okay?
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Oh, it's all right.
We'll get Dermot back up here.
Yeah, get Dermot back up.
He knows
here.
improv.
We're giving a hint.
There might be a
secret wait a minute. Wait. I just did this to the microphone. Here's what I should have done to see if Kay would get it. I go,
I do.
This is a secret.
That's another Kelly story. She would go lean over to you, but then she'd have her hand going the wrong way.
That's
with little Zelly, your new grandbaby. I can't wait for all the little Zelly
funny,
stories.
Yes,
the Zelly stories. That's
Zelly,
exactly right.
my new granddaughter. Yes.
So, all right.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut you guys off.
Are you okay?
Here and
no more drinks, Dave. We're cut off.
In just a second, I'm going to hand it back over to Mr. Voice to wrap this little bad boy up, because we will obviously have Smoking Hot Wife Kay back again,
because she boosts our ratings. So,
in the meantime, she boosts our ratings. That's exactly right. She boosts our ratings. I'm not going to say it. Yeah, boy,
he's learning self-control. This is a good sign.
70. Okay,
that was really hard. But no, obviously we will bring Kay back. But in the meantime, go get her book. Okay.
Yeah, please. This is such a good book. Such a good book.
And I hear the dog barking. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I don't hear the cat.
All right.
No cat. All right. No cat. Let's take it out.
Kay, first of all, Kay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know you're just down the hall from me down here, but we're going to find out in a minute or two whether she's happy with me.
Great conversation, you guys. It was really
Mr. Voice,
very valuable.
Take us out of here, buddy.
You have all been listening to the amazing B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast with Steve Miller, not the rock star, Kay Miller, who has a very unique name, not to be confused with any other Kay Miller, and Dave Loomis, the Dave Loomis, also known as The Voice. Thank you for listening, and come back again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And good night.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.